Chapter 1. Face Your Fear. We all deal with fear, whether we are fully aware of it or not, and whether we acknowledge it or not. Certain fears start in childhood, with the parent or teacher or bully who tried to put us down, or the sibling who tormented us. Then there are the everyday fears we face at work. Can I make this sale? Will I get this promotion? Can I get through this presentation without embarrassing myself? And finally, there are the big life fears. Am I safe? Will my business succeed? Will I be able to provide for my family? In this chapter, I'm going to show you how to master all those fears that are holding you back. You'll learn how to look your fear in the eye, how to perform despite your fear, how to accept your biggest fears, and how to make your fear work for you. Growing up with fear. Fear was with me every day when I was growing up, thanks to my father. He was not a kind man. He was not even a nice one. He wouldn't let me call him Dad. He insisted that I call him LG, at least in public. He didn't want anyone to know he had a son. That might have made him seem older than he wanted to be taken for. I don't remember LG beating me, but I do know that he mentally abused me. Maybe he thought it would make me a better man. Maybe he just didn't know another way to be. His dad had treated him the same way. His dad broke his thumb once, just because LG didn't want to get out of bed one morning. But every day of my young life I had my dad's voice in my ear, telling me I was no good, that I'd never amount to anything, that I was stupid. The pawnshop I grew up working in belonged to Popsy, who was my mother's father. It was a family business, and my mom used to work there sometimes. When Mom got pregnant with me and then married my dad, Popsy brought his new son-in-law into the business too. My grandparents knew the kind of man my father was, but once I was born, LG was part of the family. They felt they had no choice but to employ him so that he could support my mom, my sister, and me. Popsy even let our family live with him and my booby for a couple of years. Impregnating my mom was a real stroke of luck for my dad. Before he met her, he had been a pool hustler and worked in a refrigerator factory. But when my grandfather gave him a job at the pawn shop, LG had a chance at real success. He had a golden opportunity to learn from Popsy, a man who had worked his way up from nothing to build a solid business. Popsy started his business career driving a horse and buggy, picking up junk along the way and reselling it to make money. Popsy was bigger than life and a genuine success. He had the drive, the courage, and the basic decency to succeed at anything he did. As an immigrant in the Midwest in the early 20th century, there weren't a lot of options for people like him. He took to the pawnshop business the way he did everything, with enthusiasm. If he was going to be a pawnbroker, then he would be the best pawnbroker anywhere. My dad didn't possess any of those sterling qualities. He wasn't cut out to be a salesman. He didn't much like going to work for my Popsy. He wasn't devoted to the business the way Popsy was and only cared about being a pawnbroker because of the money he could make. He didn't have a love of business. He had a love of the dollar. Deep down, I believe he never had much confidence in himself as a salesman or a businessman, so he did his best to instill the same lack of confidence in me. He was a Golden Gloves boxer, and when I was younger, sometimes he would put on the gloves and play around. It's one of the few good memories I have of LG. But I remember one time when we were sparring and suddenly I could see in his eyes that he wasn't kidding anymore. He started swinging for real. Luckily, I was still pretty young at the time and I could move much faster than he could, or I don't know what would have happened. I just ran, terrified, right out of the house. I honestly don't remember if he ever hit me without the gloves. I can remember him coming after me with a belt when I was in trouble, but I don't remember if he actually hit me. Maybe it's one of those things you block out of your mind. I do remember my mother trying to stand up for me when he berated me, but she was frightened of LG too. He verbally abused us both. He told her she was fat, she was ugly, anything to tear her down. Even if he didn't hit me, my dad did plenty to mentally abuse me and destroy my self-worth. He did his best to convince me that I had an Oedipus complex and to make me as miserable as he was. The toll fear takes. It was a struggle just living in the same house with him. There were nights I would lie in bed and cry because of how he had made me feel. I think he was jealous of the close relationships I had with my grandparents and my mom. And when I started learning how to sell, he was jealous of that too. I made my first sale at the pawn shop when I was 7 years old. A man came in wanting to buy a hydraulic jack. Popsy had brought me into the store with him that day. He did that at least once a week, and my dad was there too. On that particular day, they told me to take the sale on my own. I was intimidated. I didn't even know what a hydraulic jack was. I was 7 years old. All I knew about were crayons. But I started talking to the customer, and my dad and Popsy walked